Please, silence, please. Honorable
So I'll be very brief. Much of the speeches that preceded me have been a little expansive. The scope of this bill is extremely narrow. But what some suggestions have been made that international arbitration in this country is doomed to failure. People are going to prefer Singapore and people are going to prefer the UK for various reasons. It is suggested that the delays in this country are endemic. Honorable Shri Sushil Modi ji has said that extravagant holidays for lawyers are to blame. But on all these matters, sir, are the subject matter and the domain of either the Supreme Court or the legislature or the executive, and they will deal with it. These are causes for the possible failure to catch up with Singapore and London as a successful international arbitration center. I will render to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and as a legislator, I will focus on the bill in hand, which is a very, as I said, very, very narrow scope. Now, Lord, so my friend Mr. Wilson, colleague at the bar, he made a rather uncharitable statement when he said that the draftsman is to blame. This is such a small issue. It's only a name change. Did we have to go through all this expense? Why couldn't the draftsman think about this in 2019? Now, sir, may I just say this? In 2019, this bill was passed into law. More than 500 members of the Lok Sabha and more than 200 members of the Rajya Sabha examined this bill and passed it. So it's not only the draftsman that is to blame. Legislators of both houses have seen this bill and passed it in their wisdom. So it's a little uncharitable to blame anybody. But there is a reason why. That's the reason why it was originally called the New Delhi International Center for Arbitration. And that is because it went by location. The center to be established, where these hearings would take place, would be in New Delhi. Now, sir, if anybody had cared to see the objects of this bill, you would see why the change came in. By the way, this is the first legislative output as concerns the area of international arbitration by the government, by this present government. Now, sir, I would kindly just read what the legislative object of the present amendment is, a part of it. However, it has been felt that the center, located in Delhi, being an institution of national importance, gives an impression of being city-centric, whereas it should be reflective of the aspirations to promote India as a hub of India as a hub. The word New Delhi kind of gave it a local flavor, sir. But they wanted to give it an international flavor, and experience post the passing of the bill. 2019, the bill was passed. Substantially, most of that time has gone in COVID. The little time that experience brought to bear on this bill, on the working of this act, showed that people were a little disrupted because of the local flavor, and it needed to be changed. My esteemed friend, honorable member Sukhendu Sen, whom I respect and have great affection for, quoted Romeo and Juliet. But sir, if Juliet thought that Romeo's name was Rosemary, she might not have expressed the same sentiments. So also the rest of India is justifiably perturbed by localizing what is a pan-India initiative. And that's the reason for this entire amendment. There's only one more aspect of this amendment. I want to be brief. And that is that it also includes, is an important aspect of the change that's brought in. Since arbitration, we have also brought in the mediation bill. This amendment probably foreshadows what the law minister sometime in the near future, I suppose, will introduce in Parliament, i.e. the mediation bill, which is even more simpler than the Arbitration Act. So the second change that's brought about by this, which people seem to have not noticed, is that there is also the change of saying, apart from arbitration, this bill will now cover all alternate dispute resolution systems. These are the two main changes, sir, and that's all. There is nothing dramatic about this bill, it ought to have been unanimously passed without ado. It was a case of much ado about nothing, as another member said. And so I am optimistic that this bill and this initiative will lead India to becoming the leading international center. India can become a leading international hub of arbitration. And sir, I'm even more optimistic that under Prime Minister Modi, it will become a leading international arbitration. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honourable Minister, for your reply.